Stop for a second. Do not scroll. Take one slow breath in, hold it, and let it out. Because if one person has been living in your mind for no clear reason, if their energy keeps brushing against your heart even in silence, if something inside you has been whispering that a shift is close, this is for you, not later, not someday, now. Something has been building behind the scenes, and the person tied to you is losing control over what they feel. They may still look calm, they may still act distant, they may still move through life as if nothing is happening, but inside the pressure is rising. Their thoughts keep returning to you, their emotions keep getting louder, their silence is not empty anymore, it is full of memory, full of tension, full of words they have not said yet. Stay with me, because what comes next matters. You are not imagining this pull, you are not making it up, and if your intuition has been stronger lately, there is a reason for that. Some stories do not end when people step back. Some bonds do not weaken with distance. They grow sharper, they grow heavier, they become impossible to ignore. That is where this is now. The more they tried to push this away, the deeper they sank into it. The more they tried to control their heart, the more their heart moved toward you. So listen closely. By the end of this, you may understand why your spirit has felt restless, why the silence has felt alive, and why this connection feels like it is standing at the edge of a real turning point. They tried to convince themselves this was temporary, just attraction, just curiosity, just a strong moment that would pass if they waited long enough. But it did not pass. It followed them into quiet nights and crowded rooms. It showed up in random songs, in old memories, in simple moments that should have felt normal but suddenly carried your presence. They kept trying to move forward as if nothing had changed inside them, yet everything had changed. That is why the energy around this connection feels heavier now. What they once managed to hide is getting harder to carry. Every time they stepped back, the feeling returned stronger. Every time they told themselves they could ignore it, something deeper pulled them back toward you. Little by little, what they thought they could manage became something they could no longer deny. Do not miss this part. Some people enter a life and leave only a memory, but some people enter and change another person's whole emotional world. That is what happened here. You were never small in their heart. You were never easy to forget. Deep down, they know that now in a way that shakes them more than they want anyone to see. On the outside, they may still look guarded. They may still hesitate. They may still hide behind silence or mixed signals. But under that surface, there has been a private storm. Every delayed message, every step back, every strange pause, every hot and cold moment. It was not nothing, it was conflict. It was someone feeling something real and not knowing how to hold it without changing their life forever. Real connection asks for honesty. It asks for change. It asks people to drop old habits, old masks, and old fears. That is exactly what scared them. Moving toward you would mean they could no longer keep pretending with themselves. They would have to face what this bond woke up inside them. They would have to admit that this is different. They would have to leave behind the version of themselves that stayed emotionally distant, safe, and half-closed. A part of them was terrified of that. Terrified that once they opened the door to this truth, nothing inside them would ever go back to the way it was. But here is the shift. Fear is not winning like it used to. Longing is stronger now. Desire is stronger now. The pain of silence is becoming heavier than the risk of being vulnerable. And when silence starts hurting more than honesty, everything begins to move. Maybe you have already noticed signs but did not fully trust them yet. Their name appears at strange times. Their memory hits out of nowhere. You feel their energy late at night or in quiet hours when your mind should be elsewhere. The bond feels charged even when there is no contact. That is not always easy to explain, but it matters. It shows that something is moving beneath the stillness. They are beginning to feel your absence in a deeper way, not just as distance, as loss. And loss changes people. It cracks emotional control. It makes the walls feel colder. It makes routines stop working. It makes all the things that once distracted them feel weak. You are not just a passing thought to them. You have become emotionally unavoidable, and that truth is pressing harder every day. This is why they have seemed so inconsistent. One day closer, one day gone, one moment warm, the next moment quiet again. It is not because they feel nothing. It is because feeling this much has shaken them. People often think emotional distance means a lack of care, but many times it means the exact opposite. It means the feelings became too deep for someone who still does not know how to handle them with courage. You did not just create attraction. You touched places inside them that had been asleep for a long time. You challenged walls they believed would never fall. You weakened old patterns. You stirred honesty. You stirred hope. And hope can scare people just as much as heartbreak when they are not used to believing in something real. At first they thought logic would save them. They thought time would help them detach. They thought space would make your importance fade. But distance did the opposite. It made your value louder. It made your absence clearer. It made them realize what they found with you cannot simply be replaced somewhere else. Remember this line because it matters. The heart gets tired of running from what it already knows. And when that exhaustion reaches its limit, people stop performing control and start moving toward truth. Lately, they have been emotionally restless in ways even they may not fully understand. Other conversations feel flat. Other connections feel thin. Other experiences do not reach the depth they once took for granted. In quiet moments without even meaning to, they compare everything back to you. The comfort, the intensity, the honesty, the feeling that something deeper was there. Every comparison weakens their resistance a little more. This is the stage where acceptance begins. Not perfect acceptance, not complete surrender, but the kind that starts as a whisper in the dark, the kind that says, "This is real, and I cannot keep lying to myself about it." When a person reaches that point, their behavior starts changing before they even plan it. Their attention sharpens, their curiosity returns, their energy leans back toward you. They become more aware of your distance, more sensitive to your silence, more affected by the thought that you may not wait forever. Listen carefully here, because this part is important. The next move may look sudden on the outside, but inside them it has been forming for a long time. The message, the call, the small conversation hiding a bigger confession, the return. None of it will be random. It will be the result of many silent battles finally reaching the point where they cannot keep holding back what their heart has been trying to say. What changed the most was not only your presence. It was what your presence awakened. You brought emotional truth to the surface. You stirred longing. You opened vulnerability. You forced reflection. You lit up the hope that love could actually be deep, steady, and meaningful. For someone who learned to survive through control, that is not a small disruption. That is life-changing. Many people spend years emotionally disconnected and call it peace. They build routines. They build armor. They build ways to avoid needing anyone too much. Then one real connection arrives, reaches past all of that without noise, and suddenly the old life no longer feels safe in the same way. That is what happened here. They cannot return to numbness like before. That is why their resistance became so intense. It was the last form of control they had left. But denial is exhausting when the soul has already recognized something true, and they are tired now, tired of pretending, tired of carrying feelings they cannot explain away, tired of acting untouched when they have been deeply moved. One part of them wants to rush toward you. Another part still fears being seen too clearly. One part wants certainty before taking the risk. Another part already knows certainty will never come through silence. That split inside them is getting harder to live with, and now something else is rising too. Regret. Not loud, dramatic regret. Quiet, heavy regret. The kind that replays old moments in a new light. Things you said. Times you reached out. Times they pulled away. Times they could have been honest but chose distance instead. Through that reflection, they are seeing your place in their life more clearly than before. They are realizing what came from you was sincere. It carried care, depth, patience, truth, and instead of trusting it, they resisted it. That realization humbles a person. It changes the way they remember everything, because people often understand the value of something real only when distance shows them how empty life feels without it. They are feeling that emptiness now, especially in moments when life around them should feel full, but somehow does not. That is why the emotional pressure keeps building. Not because they suddenly became weak, but because truth has weight. And once truth becomes heavier than fear, movement becomes hard to stop. The idea of losing you for real has started to disturb them in a deeper way. Not the soft idea that maybe one day things might change. The real one. The one that says you may heal, grow, move on, and stop leaving emotional space open for them. That possibility has brought sharp clarity. Nothing reveals the truth like the fear of permanent loss. They can feel that you are changing without them. They can sense that you are learning lessons in silence, becoming stronger, becoming clearer, becoming less willing to live inside confusion. And instead of making them detach, that realization has made their feelings more intense. It has forced them to see something they did not want to face. They do not fear loneliness in general. They fear life without you specifically. That is a very different truth. It means you became emotionally irreplaceable. Once someone understands that, resistance cannot keep standing the same way. This is why they keep circling back to you in their mind and heart. Why your energy keeps returning. Why they cannot fully disconnect no matter how hard they try. Somewhere inside, the soul already chose long before the mind stopped fighting. Now the mind is losing ground, and as it does, the next move they make will carry more feeling than even they expected. It may be imperfect, it may be a little shaky, it may come after hesitation, but it will not be empty. It will come from built-up longing, from reflection, from regret, from the growing understanding that every road away from you somehow led back to the same truth. Stay with this, because the deeper part is still coming. They are also starting to understand the cost of silence. Silence creates space. Delay creates distance. Fear creates missed moments. And now they are wondering whether what was stretched can still be repaired. That question alone is increasing their urgency. They are paying closer attention now, watching your energy, reading your tone, wondering if your heart still has room for them, wondering if they waited too long, wondering if the bridge between you still exists. People move differently when they realize they are no longer guaranteed access to someone they love. Their energy becomes more careful, more intentional, more real. Not because every fear is gone, but because the old way no longer works. Silence no longer protects them, it only hurts them. And there is something important here for you too. This connection was not only changing them, it was changing you. You were learning how to care without chasing, how to survive uncertainty without losing yourself, how to trust what you feel even when the outside world gave you no proof, how to remember that your value does not disappear in someone else's silence, that growth matters, because if this next chapter opens, it can open from a stronger place, not from desperation, not from fantasy, but from awareness, from two people shaped by what this bond demanded of them. There comes a moment in every deep connection when resistance reaches its limit, not because of one dramatic event, but because of accumulation. Longing builds, memory builds, absence builds, the pressure of pretending builds, until one day, staying away becomes harder than coming closer. That is where they are moving now, whether they admit it yet or not. They tried to distract themselves, they tried to move on in their mind, they tried to live as if this connection could be packed away and left behind. But slowly, every attempt failed, and the truth waiting under all of it is now impossible to ignore. You were never replaceable. That realization carries its own shock. Once someone knows that what they lost cannot just be found somewhere else, urgency begins to rise. Not always loudly, not always visibly, but powerfully. It shows up in sleepless nights, in sudden reflection, in the quiet whisper of, what if I lose them completely? That whisper has been growing inside them, and it is changing them. Your absence no longer feels like empty space. It feels like emotional loss. And emotional loss pushes honesty to the surface, especially in someone who once believed there would always be more time. Now they understand time changes things, silence changes things, people change, hearts move. And if they keep waiting, they may watch the door close on something that was meant to be faced, not avoided. That realization is stronger than ever. So when the next move comes, do not expect it to feel small. It may begin quietly, but the energy behind it will be real. A message with more truth than usual, a conversation that opens deeper than expected. A moment where they stop hiding behind safe words, distance, or light jokes and finally let real feeling come through. Because after a long inner fight, surrender does not look like games. It looks like honesty, even if the voice shakes, even if the timing feels imperfect, even if the first words come out slowly. What matters is that the mask starts to fall, and once it does, everything changes. Now we reach the final turn. Loving you is no longer the part that scares them most. Losing you is. And once fear of loss becomes greater than fear of vulnerability, people stop delaying. They stop pretending. They stop asking for endless time. They start moving. That urgency is building now with more force than before. They are starting to understand this was never random timing, never simple chance, never a passing connection. You entered their life to wake something up, and you did. You changed how they see love. You changed how they understand emotional depth. You changed how they understand themselves. That is why life has not felt normal to them since you. A heart that has been transformed cannot fully return to sleep. And this is why what comes next matters so much. It will not be just emotion talking. It will be truth after a long inner journey. Truth that says you matter more than they wanted to admit. Truth that says your absence reached places inside them they could not ignore. Truth that says they do not want your story to become a lesson they learned too late. So if the silence has felt strangely alive, if your intuition keeps saying movement is near, trust yourself but stay grounded. Do not rush. Do not force. Do not chase signs just to calm your mind. Let truth arrive in its own shape. Let actions reveal what words once hid. Let clarity show itself, because someone who has resisted a real connection for this long does not come forward lightly. They come forward changed, and when they do, you will feel the difference in their tone, in their presence, in their eyes, and in the weight behind every word.